Our panel discussion is around accelerating India's journey to be a global AI powerhouse and net producer of AI. We have on the panel Ashita Gupta, Principal Merak Ventures, Trisha Chatterjee, co-founder and CTO. I request everyone to settle down, please, or at least quieten down because we are in session. We have Trisha Chatterjee, who is co-founder and CTO at Immunito AI Private Limited. Ranjit Shetye, partner, Your Nest VC, and Amul Bhore, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director at Skymeric Technologies as our panelists. Moderating this panel is Arundhati Banerjee, who is the Senior Inception Partner, NVIDIA South Asia. Arundhati Banerjee is the Senior Inception Partner at NVIDIA South Asia, where she leads the company's engagement with the region's most promising AI and deep tech startups. Arundhati, over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Can we please get everyone settled down? I see a lot of crowd still walking in. Maybe we'll give it a minute, and by then we'll get started. Anyone who is at the back, I think we'll appreciate if you just come on to the front. We are not going to ask you any questions, so you can feel comfortable. It's just we who are going to talk. Okay, so still people are coming in. So welcome everyone once again to this panel discussion. So as you can see that India is standing at the edge of a tectonic shift from being a consumer of AI to becoming the net producer of AI. And that's the reason we are here today, to explore the topic even deeper. So today we'll explore what it takes to make that transition possible. As you can see, I am joined here with the two of sharpest angel VCs who are here with me on the left-hand side. I'll leave them to give their own introduction. And then I have some top founders who are building their AI-first ventures who are seated at the right. So with that, I'll start with some statistics. I think most of us love to read these statistics, which keeps coming about the AI ventures. So there was a statistics which came out last week from Gartner, which spoke about that India's AI adoption is at 30% when compared to the global average of 26%. So we are definitely doing something right, which makes us that 4% gap and gap in the right direction. So with that, I will start with the introduction with each one of them. So I would request the panelists to let us know about what they're doing in their day job and also add one other answer to it. That is one thing that AI was not doing last 2 to 3 years back, which it is doing today. So with that, maybe we'll start with you, Ashita.
Sure. Thank you so much, Arundhati, and good morning, everyone. I'm Ashita. I'm a principal at Merak Ventures. It is an early stage B2B technology venture capital fund. I've been spending a lot of time evaluating AI startups, and I work closely with B2B founders, building both tech-enabled businesses as well as deep tech technologies. I'm board observer to 9 technology startups across healthcare, fintech, AI, and SaaS. Lately, we at Merak have been very keen at looking at AI businesses because we feel they are building some native applications for the world and solving for massive scale problems. It's a true privilege to be at GHCI today, and I look forward to an enriching conversation today. And last but not the least, because Arundhati threw a ball, so one thing that I feel AI wasn't doing early on, but now has started to adopt is automating workflows. The way it has been increasing our efficiency, productivity, and also sharpening our skills, that is something that is unique to each and every field. And I think that is a key trend that's here to stay. Thank you.
Ranjit. Thank you, Ashita.
Sure. Hi, Ranjit Shetye here. So I'm a venture partner at Your Nest Venture Capital. We're a deep tech firm. We've done 3 funds, invested in AI 14 years back, if you've heard of Unifor, which is today $2.5 billion plus company. We've done Dozy since then. Recently we did quantum and we did space as well. But AI is actually where true excitement is. I think for India, what I see is an opportunity, especially for women entrepreneurs, because there might be invisible barriers in getting funding, but AI enables you to have a leaner team that is more cost efficient. So I think all entrepreneurs, but especially for women entrepreneurs who might encounter glass ceilings, they don't deserve it. They deserve much a better deal. But if you're running into it, AI will help you create a much more efficient organization. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Ranjit. That's a pretty nice perspective coming from one of our male counterparts at GHCI, addressing that 3% funding that goes to women entrepreneurs. So I'm sure he's also not, he's going to break that glass ceiling first. So with that, Amol, over to you.
Thanks, Arundhati. This is Amol here, Amol Bhore from Skymeric Technologies. I work as the CEO and Managing Director. We are mainly into agentic AI. We typically focus on B2B, pharma, healthcare, life science, or finance, or manufacturing, agentic AI with software robots, and even physical AI as well, right? One thing that I would like to share, in the past, we used to see a lot of Gen AIs, but then market is kind of moving towards agentic AI, right? Where customers in the B2B segment see a lot of ROI now, which they weren't actually really able to kind of accrue or see in those deployments. So since last, I would say 1 year, the deployments are now more moving towards, ROI-centric approach, going beyond the POCs. Customers are willing to allocate the budget. And there are specific use cases where customers are willing to fund those use cases, right? So that's kind of a shift, I would say, from Gen AI to agentic AI, right? So I'll hand it over back.
Great. Thanks, Amol. Trisha, over to you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Trisha. I am the co-founder and CTO of Immuneto AI. Well, I'm honored to be present among such great women on the stage as well as in the audience. Well, we are a company who has built an AI platform to design new therapeutic drugs, which are antibody-based drugs. And Q to Arundhati's question, well, today there is an AI-discovered antibody in clinical trials, and that's a huge achievement which would not have been possible maybe a decade or so earlier.
So I think you utilized my question in the best way possible for doing your marketing. So thank you, Trisha, for that. So with that, we'll move on to our first segment of questions to explore like how India is moving into becoming the net producer of AI. So my first question, Ranjit, is to you. So Jonas Venture Capital, as we all know, has backed AI-first startups across sectors. So where do you see India in the AI maturity curve, like from consuming to creating foundational AI, as well as if you can please share what's working and what's missing currently?
Yeah, so I think India is in the consumption phase rather than the innovation phase of AI. And what I mean by AI is the actual AI layer, not above it, right? So I think one of the fantastic things about India is we've adopted the AI very well. And we've built a lot of technical processes, business processes, workflows, and entire profitable businesses on top. I think when it comes to fundamental technologies, we are a little bit behind. I think, even countries like UAE, Turkey, South Korea, and Saudi Arabia have their own AI ventures. Some of it is a little speculative, but, at least the non-speculative parts are what we should ideally be looking into as well, right? So I think that's one area where we can improve. I think that's a very big part of what I would say. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say.
Okay, so he has definitely pointed out the gap, but more interestingly, I feel that we are all Indians and we try to build our AI startups also with the Indian jugaad, with the arbitrage cap on. So that actually sometimes limits us from becoming the real producer of AI, which Ranjit was just trying to point out, which the other geographies are actually taking a leap and doing it. So with that, Ashita, let me move on to you. So you have heard hundreds of AI startups pitch, right? I'm pretty sure about that. So what do you feel, which trends are real and which is overhyped in India's AI scene today?
Thank you for that question. And indeed, I've evaluated more than 100 startup pitches that are building for AI. And I must say that the energy of founders is incredible. They're of course, there are few trends that I feel are here to stay, and I will cut through the chase and I'll call them out. So one of the key trends that I've been observing in the AI space is how founders are building India-specific problems and solutions to target something at a massive scale. What that means is, you could pick any sector, pick fintech or agriculture, manufacturing. We are sitting on huge data. This is mammoth data because of their UPI stacks, Aadhaar stacks, account aggregators, a lot of innovation that is happening in each and every field. And there are billions of transactions that happen and flow through our ecosystem every day. But nobody has been able to solve for it. We are just training frontier techs, frontier LLMs, but nobody is really thinking about how can we solve for an India-specific use case, pick any vertical and just solve for that vertical and that very niche. So this is one of the trends, and I feel founders who are building across these spaces, they would be very interesting to watch. The second example here would be, something around how AI is building an applied AI, which is an application, and not just training frontier tech, which would again mean you could pick Sarvam as an example. They are using multilingual databases. They are training the ecosystem and the LLMs for local languages, which again, nobody has really thought of. And while compute comes across as one of the key issues, if there could be funding that could flow into building infrastructure and layers that are enabling this infrastructure, this is something very fundamental and very breakthrough tech. This is another trend that founders can think about building it. One of our portfolio companies at Mirac Ventures, it's called Able Credit. What they are doing is solving for exactly this problem. They have picked one vertical, which is BFSI, and they are cutting in very deep, solving for credit underwriting, building stacks more like a platform, solving from onboarding to credit underwriting to reconciliation. Again, this is another opportunity for founders to think about and play around. The final point is around, the hype. And I must say that hype is for real. There is a lot of noise around thin wrappers that go around OpenAI applications. And there are, clone Me Too products that would just replicate ChatGPT more like an API call. They would pick any use case, for example, healthcare, right? And how would you use an API to fine-tune the model and just extract all the information that anyway is sitting on LLMs? So this is a hype, and as famously, Mr. Narayan Murthy also called it out, right? These are silly marketing applications that are being sold as AI. There's no true value to AI. So the only few cents here to the founders, and especially women founders out there, is to think deeply about AI, not just think about merely applications that would sit across the surface, but to go deep, think about proprietary data sets, training data points, how defensible moats can be built across a period of time. And this is something that would truly change how India is consuming AI to becoming a true producer in AI. So thank
That's
you.
a great perspective, Ashita. So I completely agree with you, because at the end of the day, the tech moat is very important. Because if you're just building a wrapper, you never know, like tomorrow someone else will build it, maybe better than you, and you will just be wiped off from the entire ecosystem. So thank you, Ashita, for that. With that, I move to Trisha now. So Trisha, you have already done a bit of marketing about Immunito AI, but keeping that apart, so I know you are tackling one of the most complex problems in the modern medicine today, right? You are designing novel antibody therapeutics with generative AI, which requires, it is a niche and it requires a lot of data, which is as well scarce at the same time. And there's a scientific precision which is non-negotiable for your kind of a use case. So from your perspective, how does India create a strategic advantage in building such high stakes, low volume, deep science AI platforms from scratch? So I would like to understand from you. So of course you had options to be a consumer for the Western models, but you have chosen instead to build from scratch. So, but as an original inventor of globally relevant healthcare technology, what are your stakes on that?
Sure. And I'll start off with what Ashita also pointed out. There is a flood of companies who are building wrappers on top of existing models, LLM specifically. And there are still some companies in India who are steering away from that crowd. There are examples in space tech, Agnikul, if you're aware. There are examples in quantum computing. And of course, in biotechnology, where we are trying to go deep into the science and build models from scratch rather than trying to utilize or trying to force fit an existing model into a solution, which really doesn't work, especially when you're building a solution for healthcare or pharma industry. We can't just churn out antibodies and be done with it. Okay, this is it. It'll go through your trials, right? You can't lie there. Your stats would not matter until and unless your experimental validation speaks for it. And then being in India, there is always a dearth of fund, right? So for us, we raised a seed round of $1 million, whereas our counterparts in the West are raising $5 million, $10 million seed rounds. So there's a huge gap with the fund available in the Western ecosystem and here in India, which then pushes us towards thinking about how to make most of the money available and then make the most of the infra available as well. So, I mean, I proudly tell this that I have been still on credits and utilizing credits very strategically. And then there are these providers available which support Indian startups like this. And the way we've been able to do it is, like Arundhati said, we need a lot of data to train how to generate antibodies. But there isn't a lot of data when it comes to specifically antibodies where the structure is very important. We didn't go too much into the science, but it is very, very relevant. If there is that scarcity, there's a shortcut that you can take, use LLMs and try and figure out if you can fit your models there. But it doesn't work. We started off with a very small basic language model, didn't give any results in our lab. So what we did instead is we studied the science. We understood why proteins behave the way that they behave and what sets antibodies, which is a category of protein, apart from the general category of proteins. And that's how we've been able to come up with mathematical transformations which take each data point that is available for us and then transform it to a version which is 1,000,000 times more rich in information. And then the models that we've built are attuned to that representation that we've built. So in a way, what we can do is very efficiently take out the information that we want at a very large scale, but with a very small volume of data. And then focusing on the quality of data also becomes very important, right? So you can't just rely on dumping a lot of data because you don't have it. You don't have the infra. You don't have so many GPUs, which is why then understanding what do you do about each and every data point? What is diversity? What will enrich your data set? How do you split them into, let's say, clusters so that there is an even representation of each and every kind of data that your model sees? And lastly, you have to anchor it to lab validations when it comes to the pharma industry. You can have a model with 90% accuracy and not churn out any true antibodies which will be validated positive in the lab. Whereas you can have, let's say, around 70% accuracy in the model, but then be able to generate proteins or antibodies which are actually giving you positive results in the lab. So anchoring yourself there intrinsically helps you get into AI principles that might be overlooked by other sorts of companies. So your basic foundation becomes very strong. And that I feel like India's dearth of resources forces companies like us to do, where we are struggling for each and every dollar, we are struggling for each and every raise, and anchoring us to the problem statement also forces, like the scarcity of resource forces us to do that. And we've been able to show that our models work for a couple of targets, and then we continue to do that. Again, redirecting all the funds that we raise towards that objective of how to tie your each and every prediction to a lab validation, and then stay true to what you're building instead of getting into false advertisement and running with or competing with models which are churning out software-based, statistic-based results. And then that, of course, encodes responsible AI by default in your platform. That's not a second thought for you. It's already there fundamentally in your system when you're building from scratch.
That's a very interesting perspective. I can see the CTO speaking with all the details that possible. So I think I would like to call that out because we don't see women founders a lot. And even if we find women founders, we don't see women CTOs a lot. So hers, I know Immunity AI is a woman-founded company. Both the CEO and the CTOs
Women-founded,
are
yes.
women founders. And yes, there we have her in the panel. Thank you, Trisha. So with that, Amol, we'll come to you, the mic. So Amol, Skymedic is building an agentic AI platform, and you have a very unique use case where you tag it along with the RPA, right? So it's a marriage between the traditional, what was already there for quite some time, with the new stuffs that has come in. So with that next wave expected, right? So with physical AI, so what is your thoughts on India's opportunity to lead the space?
Hi. So I would say it's kind of an inflection point. So in the past, we saw different Gen AI companies with the chat GPTs, a lot of public LLMs, zero ROI. There were some chattings and things like that, right? We have been doing this for last almost 4 years now. And I would say I personally would have spoken like 500, 600 customers. The shift is basically, instead of using those public LLMs, can we build our own LLMs? So basically it became more of, I would say, a technical challenge for most of the customers to come out of that POC phase and really see some ROI, right? So we said, let's look at this from the holistic perspective in terms of, can we become a tech platform which helps customers to develop their own AI agents? And what Arundhati rightly said, our differentiating factor is mainly we have software robots, which helps you to build the data pipeline, right? So model without the data is kind of, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So you're not going to get the accuracy, or you're not going to get the right answers or the ROIs. So basically what we say is there are AI agents with automation and there are AI agents without automation. Now these AI agents with automation can do different jobs, right? So starting from what we saw in terms of healthcare, we are working with largest eye hospital in Chennai, which is Asia's largest hospital. And the key problem statement is we have inbound customers and patients, which are, let's say, 3,000 patients every day. And can we do this onboarding process and discharge process quickly using AI? So now this process involves multiple factors, right? So basically there is an automation, there are a couple of AI agents, there are eKYCs, there are a lot of other things. So it could be a text model, it could be an image model, it could be a vision model. Now, those are the basically AI agents, which are VLMs, I would say. And then the data is customers' data, right? So let's say there are companies which say, we are building something really out of the world model. But then the challenge is when you go and talk to the customers, they have their own data sets. Let's say it's eye hospital or largest pharma in Bangalore. Now we are working with largest pharma in Bangalore on some of these use cases, which are, let's say, drug discovery, CAPA reports, production capacity. Let's say the company says, I have production capacity of 500 tons, and I would like to increase that production capacity to 800 tons with AI agents. Can you help me? So there you see raw material issue, there you see manpower issue, there you see machine downtime issue. There are multiple issues that the company comes up. So the realistic AI agent has to have some automation, has to have some data pipelines, and then has to have kind of a VLMs inbuilt. Now what Arundhati rightly said, now the model, in fact, as in India or even the global, is changing towards physical AI. So we talked about AI agents, now they're talking about the physical AI. So there are a lot of humanoids. So we got some projects in terms of humanoids in India, where companies are saying, look, we are developing this for some of our manufacturing plants. And this is real. I'm talking about largest tractor company in India, largest SUV company in India. They're actually trying to put humanoids on the manufacturing shop floor for some of the X-ray of their products, components, right? Because X-ray has been kind of a really hazardous job. And there are a lot of jobs which are hazardous in the industry. And then they need humanoids. They can't work with cobots or robots because there are a lot of issues with those aspects. So physical AI is happening today, and I think that's where India is kind of moving.
Sure. Thank you, Amol, for your perspective. So I think they have painted the picture of the Indian landscape pretty well. Few things that I'll quickly summarize from here is we are definitely at the right direction, but yeah, maybe we have not achieved it yet. And that's the reason we are sitting here, because this 2026, this upcoming year, is definitely going to see a lot of boom. And trust me, if not anything, India has its population, and it's very important for AI. So that's one of our very important factor that we already have on our plate. And the most important thing is, if anyone can build something for India, you can actually make it go for the world, because no one can match the chaos that we have here. So build it for India's chaos, you can match it for any country. So with that, we'll move on to you, Ranjit, for my next question. So from a VC perspective, what's your first principle advice to founders who want to build the next revolutionary AI company out of India and take it to the world? I'll request you to keep it crisp.
Okay, all right. So I'll keep it a little crisp, right? Think big. I think plan big, plan globally, and make it an enduring organization. I think what I didn't capture earlier is what was missing in India is, there's more of a jugaad-based approach. There's more of a arbitrage-based approach. Those do not scale. They may be good to start with, that's fine, but they do not scale, right? So what I would suggest is focusing on customer pain points, looking at the differentiation, right? What does the customer get from you that is differentiated, right? Then think at a global scale. Do not plan only for your region or a very specific micro vertical, right? Somebody came to me with an idea that it was for securing only one type of an image file.
Right.
And that limits the entire market itself, right? So that's something else. I think deep value add within the organization, right? Your organization must provide deep value add to the customer, but the organization itself must generate deep value. I think it's very important. And most of all, as the leader, I think your startup needs to be an enduring organization. If you build this, then you can tackle the AI problems that are very large scale, right? If AI is going to change the world, and companies and countries are trillions of dollars in size, I don't think a $10 million idea is going to cut it, right? Eventually. So that's what I would say.
Great. Thank you, Ranjit. So we'll break the order. We'll go to Trisha now for my next question. So as a founder, what are your thoughts on AI skilling transformation required at a developer level and also at an institutional level, both from the perspective of a skilling institute and a hiring organization?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of real world problems that maybe you could pick up instead of rushing towards projects which are easy application of models that already exist. Those might be easy to skill up, and you might get a boost when you see your commits on GitHub. But the real essence and the real skill building happens when you try to tackle true problems, and there is no lack of true problem available. And then the institutions do have the privilege to get GPU clusters. I think they should definitely, if probably most of them are, but they should definitely reallocate them for students who can actually train on those GPUs, again, for real problems instead of just focusing on application. That is very important, because when we look to hire from institutions, that is essentially what we are looking for. We don't care if you have fancy projects which are on the application side, but is your core strong enough? Have you gone down to the mathematics? When diffusion came about, what did you do? Did you go through the paper that talked about diffusion, the DDPM paper, or did you focus on applying that for easy problem solving? That's what we test for. And high time that the students coming out of colleges who want to get into ML-based or AI-based companies right at the onset, that they have these skills built into the curriculum. I guess that's the most important thing.
That's a very interesting perspective. I am sure you must have had some first-hand experience as well when you have been hiring. So yes, the first thing is you have to start it early, and start it early means start it today, because you cannot delay it. Things are changing every day. So with that, Amol, maybe let's come to you. So again, as a founder, having seen the transformation happening with agentic AI, right? So what are your thoughts on the mindset change required in the ecosystem? It can be for the VCs, the founders, the government, people, to build this world-class AI from India.
Yeah, so basically I'll start with the government first. And I think government has been doing a great job there. So far what we have seen is AI mission, semiconductor mission, but then obviously we are kind of lagging on the chip side. So chip is, I think, is going to be the next wave. That is where I think a lot of investments from the government are being planned. Uh, in terms of agentic AI on the government side, I would say they are also kind of really putting a lot of efforts in terms of governance. So there are large bids which are coming out in terms of how they can kind of, I would say, measure the progress of government projects through agentic AI. And that is happening live as we speak. What I really feel is needs to be a lot of digital GPU infrastructure that government needs to put up, and I think that is where we see a lot of challenges because there are not too many infras which are available for training purpose. So CDAC, we for sure we know in Pune we can do some of the trainings, but otherwise there is definitely an issue in terms of public GPU infrastructure on the government side. In terms of VCs, we are pre-seed funded already. In March, we spoke with a couple of VCs in US as well as in India. So on the VC side, obviously, we have two VCs there and they have their own perspective. But in terms of VC, I would say definitely there are pluses and minuses in terms of their likings on the hardware side versus software stack. I think hybrid is the way to go, possibly. The second aspect I would say is the ROIs, the break-even times, the early wins, a lot of stakes on the financials, but then the quick wins are not that easy, right? Because you're really working with the customers and the pain points. And in this area, I think there has been a challenge to really find out, a flashy demo versus a real pain point, right? So I think that's on the VC side. I would say on the people side and what Ranjit rightly said, I would say it's like, we are the product instead of the consumer. As an India as the net consumer versus, the producer. I think we are the product because let's say you talk about the ChatGPT Go model is free. You talk about Perplexity, you talk about some of the DeepSeek or some of the public LLMs, right? We are the product, they're testing it on us, right? Because the data goes to them and we are the product. So I would say that has to reverse. We should not really give our data to some of these public models rather than build some of the foundational models here in India. And that is where I think, the data is the key. Data is the goal. Data is next mine. And India being such a large 1.5 billion population, we shouldn't really become the product rather than actually create the models and use that model for our own good. So can we do a society good? Let's say there are a lot of issues. I think there are a lot of society problems, government problems, which can be solved with our own foundational models and which we can definitely create with our own data rather than giving that data back to some of the public LLMs, right? So I think that's my perspective.
Thank you, Amol. That's a well-rounded perspective. So as you can understand that Amol was telling, right, if we have to build something novel, it takes time. Quick wins is not, he told it's not easy. It's not possible. So you have to actually grind yourself to build something. A real deep tech disruption takes at least 7 to 10 years. So you have to be patient. So with that, Ashita, I'll come to you. So what role can VCs play in helping founders become AI first?
Sure. I think the way founders think about VCs is the fact that we are here to support your journey through capital. But the way we think about it is, and the way I'd urge founders also to change their narrative and understanding would be that we are partners beyond capital. So there are, I would think of it in three ways. One is definitely for us because we have evaluated a lot of startups. We see what's going on in the ecosystem. So one of the important things is to think about VCs asking you and guiding you early on in your journey, which would mean asking the right questions at the right time. For example, challenging how the founders are thinking about building their startup by asking, what is the proprietary information that you're using? What kind of robust systems can you build in place so that, an integration with intelligence can increase your startup output by, say, 10x and not merely by 10%? because with AI, that is the leap for the future, and that is the significant difference we are expecting out of the startups. AI has to be a core engine and not something that is sitting on the edge, because that is where true value in the sustainable ecosystem is built. The second important thing would be to think of us as ecosystem enablers. For example, at early stages, founders don't usually struggle with ideas. They have a lot of ideas. What they often struggle with is building the right ecosystem, which would mean getting the right talent, how to identify that AI ML engineer in your team, how to get the right advisors at right point in your team, what percentage should be given to the advisors. These are very tactical questions, but often founders are inundated with such questions. And VCs can help bridge that gap, how to find, say, discounted credits for your compute infrastructure. These are, the partnerships we as VCs drive with all the major compute power and the giants in the ecosystem. So that's the benefit that we could extend to US founders. And the third thing, which is super critical, is how to build a safe environment for your startup to play out. Because with increased AI, we are also creating a parallel universe of risk, which would mean that there are so many regulatory bodies. For example, with the recent launch of DPDP Act, right? You need to be compliant to the way you are thinking about your AI architectures, your AI infrastructure frameworks. This is something that we know a bit. We are not experts, but VCs, they do know a bit more about what's coming in a sector. So this intelligence is something that we can extend to the founders, so that we know what are the gray areas and how can we prevent entering into those gray areas. And overall, I just say that you should think of VCs as partners who have patient capital, but also a lot of expertise and a bit of hand-holding that can help you build a safe environment and also thrive for the future and become more ambitious ultimately at the end of the day. So this is how I think about it.
That's great, Ashita. So I think every startup wants that support from VCs. I'm glad that you called those things out. I'll be even happier if I see you doing that live to all your startups. So with that, I'll move on to the last segment of our panel discussion. So this part will be really quick. There's some rapid fire questions for all of you. I want it to be really rapid and full of fire. So please be quick. So the first question is, complete this sentence. India will be a global AI powerhouse by 2028 if... Trisha?
We can build our foundational models.
Great. Amol?
I would say same foundational model, but then maybe R&D patents, let's say at least a couple of thousand R&D patents that we can file and protect the areas. Yeah.
Okay. Ranjit?
If we invest in analog compute in memory, which will be like 100 times faster than today's technologies, but at 12 nanometer, which will be very cheap for us to manufacture.
Awesome. Lovely.
Yeah,
Ashita?
I'd say investing in computing. So having some indigenous compute power that could bring AI to India and not from India.
That's amazing. I think we are already in the right direction with government setting up the AI mission as well as the RDI proposals, which you all might have seen. So with that, I have one other rapid fire question for all of you. What's one bold bet you would like to see India take to leapfrog into the AI top tier? So this time, Ashita, I'll start with you.
I'd say investing in the right talent. This would be super critical when it comes to finding good opportunities and building sustained ecosystem in India and across the world.
Ranjit?
Yeah, I think we already have the data. So I think going down the stack into the foundation and preferably the hardware is the change that we need to make to own the entire stack.
Great. Amol?
I would say basically chips, semiconductor industry, and at least a good digital public infrastructure on the GPUs. So that will definitely make a difference.
I have two. One would be hardware infra, which the government has already started. That is very, very critical. Right. And the other would be post-seed and pre-series A funding for deep tech companies, which is where that market fit is very critical. I mean, I'm sure panelists on the left are laughing. I'm sure.
Thank you, Trisha. So that was so honest of the panelists. So I really appreciate that. I want to thank them for being here. So what we have heard is clear, right? That India is ready. But we need deeper AI, not just broader AI, just as, say, for example, what Immunito is doing. So from healthcare to manufacturing, from startups to sovereign infra, we need aligned momentum. And that's the reason I didn't introduce myself before, apart from what was called out. So that's the reason partners like us come into picture. So I head the startup program for NVIDIA for South Asia, where we are more than happy to work with founders, be it men, be it women, doesn't really matter as long as you are a founder. So we are more than happy to help you with infrastructure support, technical support, funding support, most importantly, and the GTM support, not in a one-size-fits-all kind of a solution, but rather curated for your own need. So with that, I will open it up for questions because we are here. So let's not just ride the AI, but ride the wave. Let's build the wave. So open for questions, if any.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
My startups, which are global scale and AI, have benefited from the NVIDIA Inception program, specifically from Arundhati's guidance. I would strongly encourage that. Right?
Thank you so much, Ranjit, for that. Any questions? Yes, please. Can we have the mic, please, real quick?
We'll have to borrow one mic because we're running short of mics.
Thank you.
All right. It's time for one question, I think, because we need to wrap up by 12:15.
So for like people who are looking to join AI startups, what are like some resources where we can find, startups that are performing well, or like, is there any place where we can look for?
Okay, so anyone who would like to take this question? Where would someone find a company that which are the AI startups that are doing well so that the people can apply to those startups to
And
join?
like find the stats and like see how
Right.
they're progressing, and like, is there a one place or like couple of places where we can see that?
I would say go look up the membership of the NVIDIA Inception program. Anyone, I mean, you're making me come up with an answer. That's actually a reason. Anyone who's smart enough would be in that program. It's a good program, right? So that's one, but again, I'm not saying go to NVIDIA, I'm saying go wherever, but that's one directory you can look up.
And I think most importantly, if you want a non-biased answer, you can check any of the corporates, or apart from that, you can also check a lot of bodies which are third parties who does a lot of surveys on startups, starting from NASCOM, AIM, and a bunch of them. So you can definitely check like what the trend is saying, what they are doing, and definitely follow TechCrunch. So to get the global AI startups in.
Okay, this is great because I think technologists have such a limited dictionary. We have time for one more question.
Yes.
Hi. Typically, we become the product. I mean, in India, what happens is we become the market for the external world because the kind of population we have. How is that the VCs or, the technologies, how are you emphasizing that we no longer are the market, but we are the givers to the world? Because this is very crucial. When I say, say Apple or any of the giants we see, we are always the consumers. We are never the givers. If we really win this war, it's only when we give it to the world. We don't take it from them. So how is that you are helping out, or what is that you would, suggest that, we lead this technology. We give something to the world rather than just not become a market to the West. Yeah.
Right. I think she was asking for the VC perspective. Ranjit or Rashida, if you want to chime in.
Sure. I'm not sure if I fully understood the question. Could you please articulate that?
I think her question was more that we have always been the consumers for the global market, but how do we do something so novel that the globe becomes our consumers and we become the producer? That was the entire panel discussion about.
Got it. Yeah. I think there are two quick points. One is to invest in infrastructure. For example, currently all of us are using so many LLMs, right? From Claude to say OpenAI, Gemini, or even Grok for that matter, right? We are massive consumers of this information, and we at the same time train their models to become better. So if there's something such as native as indigenous infra or enablers that we could build and also invest, we as VCs can invest in these technologies, I think that will be a game changer. The second point here would be to look for applications that are solving for fundamental sectors. Fundamental sectors to the Indian economy are, say, healthcare, education, and finance. These are the core pillars. And if something can be done in these sectors to make them autonomous, AI autonomous in the next 5 years, that will again be, a fundamental shift. It would be a paradigm shift to not just the Indian economy, because we are expecting to add more than $500 billion in the Indian GDP just by using AI technology. And if we are able to invest and also build technologies in the similar space, this will be truly dynamic, and we will be then the exporters of AI and not just consumers.
Any one last thought from you, Ranjit?
Yeah, so what I'll say very shortly, uh, entrepreneur and innovator. So innovator and entrepreneur are two separate roles.
Yes.
Okay. So you can innovate for growth, but you can also scale for growth as an entrepreneur. So there are multiple ways to provide a service that people will want to come to India. So
I
know
think I have
time's
a
up.
very generic answer to add to all of them, and to give a wrap to this panel discussion. Think big and just do it. If you really want to land on the moon, you need to build a rocket, you need to build a spaceship. You can't build a ladder and think of going to the moon. So that's the reality. Thank you, everyone. So with that, we'll wrap up this. Thank you, panelists, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear panelists and moderator. I'd request you to stay on stage, please. We have a few mementos. Earlier, of course, when I said a limited dictionary, I meant I think technologists have the uncanny ability to be so on point that they can take, let's say, we went about 2 questions in 6 minutes. That's not possible in the otherwise corporate world. Calling upon Shilpa Nagvara, who is software architect at Globalization Partners, our session chair, to please give away the mementos. A big round of applause for the multiple perspectives that came about. Thank you. Thank you, dear panelists. Arundhati, you were an amazing moderator. I must give it to you. Thank you, Shilpa. All right. And with that, thank you for being here. I hope you will continue to be part of the discussion.